Her true story from Texas. My son texted, "You won't be coming with us. My wife wants to keep it just her family. Thanks for paying for everything though. I stopped all the money before they left. They got on the plane. But the cards didn't work. You need to know where you stand. My wife wants the trip to be just her family. You already helped by paying." That's what my son wrote to me at 11:15 at night. 2 days before the family trip I had been saving for, planning for, and dreaming about for 3 years. I sat in my kitchen chair, my glasses sitting on my nose, with only the quiet hum of the old fridge making any sound. I had just finished putting the last bottles of sunscreen into little bags I wrote names on by hand, one for each grandchild. My hands were still sticky from the tape I used to wrap small gift bags with keychains that said, "Aloha" and "Grandma loves you." My phone buzzed again. Another text. "Don't feel bad, Mom. It's not about you. Just easier this way." He didn't write back. I stared at the bright screen until it went black. Then I put it face down on the table. He didn't call me. He didn't say thank you. He didn't even try to be nice about it. Just a cold, mean way of changing our family. Where the woman who raised him was now, in his words, not part of her family. I knew things were getting different. It wasn't just how Sarah, my daughter-in-law, would tell me I was wrong in front of the kids, or how she would roll her eyes when I told stories about when my husband and I first went to Hawaii for our honeymoon. It wasn't even how she started having holidays at her mom's house and forgot to tell me until the day before. No, what told me everything was how she looked past me. Not through me, but past me, like a waitress who already brought the check and was done with you. But I never thought Tommy would go along with it. He used to write me Mother's Day cards that made me cry happy tears. He used to bring me pink flowers every March, even after he moved far away. When he was little, he told his teachers I was his best friend. I still have the picture he drew in 2nd grade. The one where I had a cape and it said, "My mom saves the day." I guess I wasn't part of that story anymore. I looked at the small bag I packed for myself. Inside were 2 pretty dresses I hadn't worn in years, a photo of my husband who died, and a small box of matches for a candle I wanted us to light for him. The candle smelled like flowers, his favorite smell. I had dreamed about us standing on the sand with no shoes as the sun went down into the ocean. I dreamed my grandson would hold my hand and ask, "Did Grandpa love the beach too?" And I would say he loved it so much he brought me here before we had enough money. He loved it more because he shared it with me. But that wouldn't happen now because I wasn't invited. I had paid for the house by the beach. I had bought the plane tickets. I had set up the car rentals, the fun shows, the swimming lessons, the breakfast, food. I had spent hours on the phone making sure the beds were soft enough for the kids and the walkways were flat enough for Sarah's mom's bad knee. And now I was just a name that got crossed off the list. The ATM that sent the money and then quietly disappeared. I sat in the kitchen for a long time. The clock moved toward midnight. The house was dark around me, but I didn't turn on any lights. I let the small lights under the cabinets make long shadows on the counters I had cleaned earlier. For a moment I felt shame. Not anger, not even sadness. Just shame. The quiet, hurting kind that makes you feel stupid for hoping. I thought about calling him. I even picked up the phone. But what would I say? "That hurts." He knew that. "You've changed." Of course he had. "Please let me come." I couldn't beg. Not after everything I had given. I put the phone back down. Instead I got up, walked slowly to my desk and turned on my old computer. The screen came on. Slow but working. I opened the folder called Hawaii Travel Money. There it was, the total I had been saving since the day I stopped working. $21,763.84. It started with $10 bills I hid in envelopes. Then I began selling old furniture. Then teaching English online at night. Every dollar had gone to this trip. I had set up a special account and connected all the payments for the house, the plane tickets, everything. I had also set up all the cards to take money from one main place. Mine, because I trusted them. Because I thought trust was something I had earned. The little line on the computer screen blinked. I moved my mouse over the button that said, Stop account. One simple click would stop all payments. A phone call to the travel people would stop everything. I didn't click it. Not yet. Instead, I opened a new page and started typing something else. Not a reply to Tommy. Not begging. List. A new list of names. Women from church who hadn't left Texas in 20 years. My friend Carol, whose son hadn't talked to her since she got sick. Louise, who buried her husband last year and still brought his photo to church meetings. Mary, who helped raise her grandkids but wasn't invited to their school parties. Helen, who told me last month that no one had ever taken her picture at the beach. I saved the file. Then I went back to the bank page. Click Stop. A small box appeared. Are you sure you want to stop all connected transactions? Clicked Yes. Another message. All connected cards will stop working right now. Then I sat back, closed the computer and took a deep breath. I picked up the gift bag I had made for my youngest grandson. I took out the keychain and put it on the table. Then I unwrapped all the others one by one. And for the first time in 3 years, I let myself dream about a different kind of trip. One where I wasn't unwanted. Not a bother, not forgotten, but the host. And I smiled. Not because I wanted to hurt them, but because of something stronger. I could see clearly now. It started with a jar. An old glass jar I kept behind the flowers in the kitchen cabinet. I called it my dream jar. Though nobody knew that but me. Every time I didn't buy something small, vitamins, a movie, new slippers, I'd take that money and put it in the jar. It wasn't much at first. $5 here, $10 there. But over time it grew quietly like hope does. 3 years I saved. Cancelled my TV. I stopped buying my favorite tea. I taught students online for extra money even when my hands hurt and my eyes burned. I turned the heat down at night and wore thick socks. I said no to lunch with friends, telling them I was tight on money. They didn't know I was putting every penny into that jar. For what? For a memory. For one last beautiful time as a family. Hawaii wasn't just a place to go. It was a symbol. James and I went there for our honeymoon. We were just 24, barely married, broke as could be. We shared one suitcase and split sandwiches for lunch. He got sunburned so bad on the second day he wore a bedsheet like cape for the rest of the week. We laughed more than we ever would again. After he died, I made a quiet promise to myself. Take the family there. I'd let the grandkids see what he saw. Let Tommy feel the sand his father once walked on. Maybe it would bring us closer. Maybe it would remind him where he came from, who loved him first. So I planned. I looked up houses that could fit all 9 of us. I called the travel lady many times to ask about beds, food needs, and wheelchair access for Sarah's mother. Ordered special t-shirts with everyone's name and "Family is Forever 2023" printed on them. I picked a house by the beach with a fire pit. I dreamed of us sitting around it, lighting candles one by one, each of us saying a word about James. I would bring his photo, the one of him laughing with his head back, sun in his hair, and I'd hold it while we all said something good. I dreamed of quiet, then tears, then laughter, but mostly I dreamed of being seen, being thanked, being hugged. None of that happened. Because somewhere along the way I stopped being part of the picture. I don't mean just the pretend one. I mean really. I noticed it slowly, fewer group photos. When they posed at Thanksgiving, Sarah would say, "Let's do one of just the kids." Then, "Let's do one with just our family." And by the time they were done, there wasn't time for one with me. At Christmas, they all wore matching sweaters, red with white trees. Mine was blue. I didn't even know there was a plan. Tommy would brush it off. "Oh, you're not into that stuff, Mom." But I was. I just wasn't asked. Sarah took over birthdays. She had everything at her mother's place. I was invited, but I felt like a stranger. Once she told someone, "Tommy's mom is here too," like I had just wandered in without being asked. And always she smiled like she didn't mean to hurt me. But hurt doesn't always come with yelling. Sometimes it comes with leaving you out, with forgetting you, with being the one left out of every photo, every story, every seat at table. But still I planned. I held on because this trip was going to bring us back together. Because once we were all under that Hawaiian sky with waves whispering on the shore and children laughing in the sand, maybe love would be enough to remind them. That was the story I told myself. That was the dream I built out of small sacrifices, quiet and hidden, until that text. That single text that turned a 3-year dream into a 3-second dismissal. You already helped by paying. Suddenly every skipped tea, every cold night, every teaching hour spent looking at a computer screen felt stupid. I hadn't been building a bridge. I'd been building a platform they never planned to let me stand on. I thought of the candles I'd packed, of the moment I dreamed about us holding hands by the fire. But the truth hit me like a wave crashing hard on rocks. They didn't want my stories. They didn't want my memories. They just wanted my money. And now that they had it, they wanted me to disappear. That night I went to the closet and unpacked my bag. Put the flower candle on the table beside James's photo. Then I sat in the quiet and asked myself something no mother should ever have to ask. When did I become a burden in the family I built? The morning after the text, I woke up earlier than usual. Not because I had somewhere to go, but because I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing his words in my head. Not even his voice, just the words. Cold typed sent through a screen. You already helped by paying. I moved through the house like a ghost, folding the same blanket twice, straightening picture frames that were already straight, wiping the kitchen counter even though it was clean. The silence stuck to me. It hummed in the walls. Later that day, I opened my email to check a store receipt, and that's when I saw it. Subject: Final details. Hawaii family trip sent from the travel company. I clicked it without thinking. A full list of flight times, house check-in times, fun activities, dinner bookings, rental car pickups. Everything I had worked so hard to plan. I looked slowly, my eyes searching for proof of what I already knew but didn't want to face. There were 8 names. Tommy, Sarah, their 2 kids, Sarah's parents, Sarah's sister's boyfriend. Not mine. Not Mom. Not Marilyn. Not anywhere. 8 plane tickets, 8 airport passes, 8 people signed up at the house. I was not one of them. I stared at the screen, my hand on the mouse. Then I made the words bigger. Maybe there had been a mistake. Maybe I was under guest 9. Maybe they'd added me separately. Maybe. But there were no other emails, no side bookings, no separate confirmation. Just date. I sat there for a long moment. Then I closed the computer gently, like it might break if I moved too fast. That evening, Sarah called. No, Tommy. Sarah. Her voice was too happy. We're just finishing packing, she chirped. I hope everything's set on your end money-wise. I think the final payment goes through tomorrow, right? I didn't answer right away. Then I asked softly. Is there anything you need me to bring? Sharp, awkward silence. Bring, she repeated. Oh no, you don't need to bring anything. Push gently. Just wondering if I should pack any games for the kids or snacks for the flight. I know sometimes they get car sick. She cut me off, still smiling, but with steel in her voice now. Marilyn, we've got it all handled. You really don't need to worry. In fact, we were thinking it might be best if you used this time to rest. Stay home. Focus on you. She didn't say it mean, but I could hear the end in her voice. They had planned the whole thing without me and were now pretending it was for my own good. After the call ended, I stood in my kitchen, staring out the window at the bird bath James had put up 20 years ago. The water was still, no ripples, just like me. Not angry, not shocked, just still. I walked to the closet, pulled down the small fire-safe box, and opened it. Inside were the papers I'd kept since opening the travel account. The account I created. The account I filled with money. The account connected to every single booking. I flipped through the forms. There it was in big letters. Account holder, Marilyn Rose Garcia. Authorized users, none. No co-signers. No shared ownership. No other access. I sat down and opened my banking app. There it was. Travel fund. $21,763.84. Status, active. Connected cards. 6. Primary billing owner me. That's when I started thinking about how easily they had erased me. How sure they were that they could spend my kindness like it was their right and throw away my presence like it was a burden. I was never meant to go. They just needed the money. It had never been our vacation. It was a deal. And I had been the bank. But banks can close. I didn't make any choices that night. Instead, I turned off the phone, made myself some mint tea and sat with it. I let myself feel it all. Not just the insult but the clarity. They didn't forget me. They left me out. And worse, they thought I would be too quiet, too old, too grateful for scraps to notice. They thought I'd stay in the shadows and smile anyway. They forgot who raised them. I closed the app, and for the first time in months, I slept through the night. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone to tell them what I'd found out. No big phone calls, no explosive arguments. I simply made tea, sat in the chair James used to call the lookout, and stared out the window while my computer blinked awake beside me. The house was quiet. No TV, no radio, just the wind tapping on the window and the occasional hum of the fridge. And in that silence, something inside me settled. Not like calm but like stone. I was no longer confused. I was no longer waiting for an apology. I was planning. I opened the banking app and scrolled to the travel fund section. My name was still at the top. Account owner. I checked the connected cards. 6 total. 1 for the resort, 1 for the car rental, 1 for the airline, 3 for extras like food and fun activities. All set. To take money from the same place. My fund. I clicked the settings tab. There it was. Transaction lock freeze mode. I moved my mouse over the switch. A small note under it said, "Turn this on to stop all outgoing charges from this account. Connected cards will stop working. No new charges can be approved without account owner verification." 1 click. That was all it would take. But I didn't click it yet. Instead, I opened another tab, the one for my calendar. I marked the leaving day with a red circle. They were supposed to leave from the airport at 10:45 in the morning. If they got there 2 hours early for check-in, that meant I'd want the freeze to start at around 8:15 a.m. Just as they got in line at the gate, sure everything had been paid for. That would be the moment the cards stopped working. But only if I told them not to. Only if I stayed quiet long enough. Still, I didn't press the button. Not yet. Because once you decide to stop playing the role people give you, the good mother, the giving grandmother, the smiling supporter who never asks for anything back, there's no going back to that mask. And I wanted to be sure. So I gave them one last chance. Just one. I sent a message to Tommy. Simple. Hi. Let me know if you'd like any help with the kids' bags or snacks before the trip. I can bring some extra motion sickness bands for Emma. No reply. An hour passed. I could see that the message had been read. Still nothing. No thank you. No recognition. No, we appreciate you. Just nothing. That's when I knew there was no misunderstanding. This wasn't about bad communication or forgetting or Sarah's preferences. This was about entitlement. About the quiet cruelty of people who think love is a one-way deal. I was the vault and they were cashing out. But not anymore. I went back to the banking app. My finger hovered again. Then without hesitation I clicked. The icon turned blue. The message updated. Freeze mode activated. All transactions are now paused. Manual. Authorization required to resume. I stared at the screen for a moment, letting it sink in. There would be no email sent to them, no alert, no warning. They would find out the way I found out I wasn't invited. In the most silent, undeniable way possible. I leaned back in my chair, took a sip of tea and breathed out. It was not revenge. It was reality. A reality they chose, but that didn't mean I had to pay for it. Over the next 48 hours I said nothing. When Sarah posted a photo of matching beach hats on social media, I didn't comment. When Tommy texted the family group chat a final ready for takeoff message, I didn't respond. And when my youngest granddaughter sent me a voice note saying, "Grandma, we're going to see sea turtles," I saved it, pressed it to my heart and said out loud, I'm sorry, baby, but someone had to teach your parents the value of presents. Then I went back to my computer and opened a new spreadsheet. This time it wasn't for them. It was for me. I made a list titled, Those Who Deserve to Be Seen. The top I wrote, Carol, Helen, Louise, Mary, Nora, Diane. Each one a woman like me. Overlooked, underestimated, overused. And under each name, I began planning what a vacation could look like. Not for reward, but for healing. Not out of pity, but out of power. Because if I was going to be the one holding the checkbook, I would decide who was worth the trip. That night I slept with the window open. The wind whispered like a secret finally spoken. They had their bags packed. They had their boarding passes printed. They thought the only thing left was the flight. But flights run on more than fuel. They run on trust. And they had none left with me. They left for the airport with matching luggage, straw hats, and that soft smug air people wear when they think everything has gone exactly as planned. Sarah posted a photo on Instagram from the back seat of the Uber. The kids grinning, Tommy making a peace sign. Her caption read, Off to paradise, family only. The last part cut like glass. She saw it. While sitting at my kitchen table, sipping coffee from a chipped mug I had owned since before Tommy was born. The same mug he once brought me breakfast in bed with when he was 9 years old. I didn't like what I felt, but I didn't look away. I watched their story unfold frame by frame. At the airport, at check-in, at the gate. Luggage stacked, kids jumping. Sarah's mother posed beside the airline sign like it was a red carpet. Smiles. No seat for me. Then the message came in from Tommy. Hey, getting. Weird error at check-in. Can you check the travel account real quick? I didn't reply. 5 minutes passed. Then another. Tommy. They're saying the card was declined multiple times. You see anything on your end? Still I said nothing. Then the calls started. At first one every 10 minutes, then every 5, then back to back. Voicemails followed. Mom, it's me. Just give me a quick call, please. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on, but we can't get the rental confirmed. Saying funds unavailable. Can you look? Mom, please. The kids are freaking out. Just tell me if something happened to the account. Kept the phone face down. The clock read 8:27 a.m. The flight was supposed to leave at 10:45 a.m. I pictured them standing at the counter, scanning and re-scanning those plastic cards. Sarah getting more frantic with each beep of denied. Her parents asking questions in low, sharp voices. Tommy sweating, trying to pretend he was still in control. Then came a voicemail with a different tone, a low, urgent whisper. Mom, I don't know what you did, but if this is because of the text, can we please talk? No apology, no admission. Just an offer to talk now that their plans had fallen apart. And still I said nothing. The resort called next, not to my phone but via email. Subject. Booking cancellation request confirmed. Dear Miss Garcia, we have processed the requested cancellation of your villa booking. Due to the account freeze, associated charges have been reversed. As per your authority as the sole account holder, no further action is required. We hope to welcome you in the future. I read it once, then twice, and finally I allowed myself a small bitter breath of release. They would not be welcomed. Not there, not now. Maybe not ever. At 10:40 a.m., Tommy texted again. We're boarding. Call me, please. But I didn't. They took off without a place to land, because money is only a guarantee when backed by trust, and they had broken theirs. By noon, I had over 50 missed calls from Tommy, from Sarah, even from her mother. I didn't listen to any more voicemails. I went for a walk instead. The air was warm. Birds chirp. A neighbor waved and asked if I was heading anywhere for spring break. I smiled and said, not yet, but soon. When I got back, the phone had finally stopped ringing. Instead, there was one new message from Tommy. Look, if this was about what we said, maybe we messed up. I don't know. Things got twisted, but the kids are here. They're excited. We can still fix this. Please just unlock the account. I promise we'll talk everything through when we get back. I stared at the screen. They wanted the vacation and to postpone the apology. They wanted forgiveness without confession. They wanted me to fund their joy while they exiled mine. So no, I did not unlock the account. I did not answer the message, and I did not explain myself because I owed them nothing, because sometimes silence is the only reply strong enough to be heard. The money came back 2 days after their flight. Came in small notifications, one by one. First the resort, then the rental car company, the airline taxes and fees, the tour packages, the private chef deposit. The lays, the luau, the snorkeling trip. All returned, all reversed, all mine again. My travel fund account, once drained by love, was full again. But this time love would not be blind. This time I would spend it differently. Not for appearances. Not for people who saw me as a wallet with wrinkles. This time I would spend it on those who knew what memory was worth, because they too had lived lives of giving without being seen. I opened my notebook. The same one I had used to write down James's favorite songs, his old fishing recipes, and the names of every grandchild. I flipped to a clean page and wrote 3 words at the top. The Forgotten Women. Underneath, I began listing names. Carol from church, a widow whose children hadn't visited in 5 Christmases. Mary, who still wore her wedding ring even though her husband had left her 30 years ago. Helen, who cared for a brother with memory loss and slept on a cot beside his hospital bed. Nora, who once told me, "The worst part of getting old isn't the pain, it's being invisible." Louise, my old neighbor, a retired librarian who'd never seen the ocean. And Diane, who had once given me a ride to the doctor when I hurt my ankle and never let me pay her back. I made 6 phone calls. Each conversation was the same. Hesitant hellos followed by stunned silence, then disbelief. "You want to take me where?" "Hawaii, dear. For 1 week. No catch." "But why me?" "Because someone should. Because you matter." I made the bookings under my own name this time. 1 villa, 6 women, 7 days. No tags, no hashtags, no family-only captions. I called the travel agent and gave her different names. I asked for separate beds and 1 large table with enough space for all of us to sit together every night. Then I went to the box under my bed. Inside was the photo of James the first had planned to place at the head of our family table. His smile still strong, still playful, still mine. I had the photo made bigger and framed. Not in gold, but in soft walnut, the kind of wood that grows darker and more beautiful with time. Packed it in bubble wrap and placed it carefully in my suitcase. When we arrived at the villa, a place perched above the ocean where palm trees swayed like slow dancers and the salt air kissed your skin before you knew it, I walked through the front door and set that photo on the dining table. No one questioned it. No one asked me to move it aside. That night, we sat together under hanging lights, the sound of waves whispering through the open doors. Carol wore a bright scarf and kept refilling everyone's wine. Helen toasted to finally being somewhere I didn't have to clean after. Mary cried when she saw the view from her window. We didn't talk about who forgot us. We talked about who we remembered. We didn't compare scars. We showed each other the strength beneath them. And James, my James, watched it all from the center of the table, his smile never fading. Each night we lit 1 candle beside his photo. Each woman said one thing they wished someone had told them when they were 30. "I see you. You're allowed to rest. You don't have to earn love. Your story matters. You are not a burden. You are never invisible." On the last night we walked the shore in silence. The stars were so close it felt like you could reach up and tuck one into your pocket. The water curled around our ankles. The moon made silver of every wrinkle and curve and scar. I looked around at the women beside me. Women who had given without asking, loved without limit, endured without applause. And I realized something. I hadn't just taken them on vacation. I had brought them home to each other, to themselves, to the reminder that memory, when shared with the right people, becomes more than a flash in time. Becomes legacy. If this story touched something deep in you, if you've ever poured your heart into a family that forgot you, if you've ever been erased and had to write yourself back in, then you belong here. This is Grandma True Stories, where silence becomes strength and memory becomes power. We tell the stories no one else dares to, of mothers discarded, of women who endured, of legacies rebuilt not with noise but with truth. So if you believe kindness isn't weakness but wisdom that waits, if you believe that being forgotten isn't the end of your story but the start of a better one, subscribe to Grandma True Stories today. Because when a grandma speaks, the world finally listens.